And it
But
was
read it
good.
again.
God, that was a good book.
But don't see the movie. The movie didn't do the book justice.
Not
It
too
was
many,
a good
not too many
movie.
movies.
It was
Not
a
too many
good
movies
movie.
do though, because there are certain, even if you make it a 3 hour movie, you literally can't put in everything. And nobody's gonna sit there for 4 or 5 hours. Again, I'm not sitting 4 or 5 hours on anything.
You did on The Godfather. Why can't you
That
on
was 3 hours.
Malcolm? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes, Tracy Wright, the farce on Washington. Good old Malcolm. All right, let's get to the 8th paragraph.
Do you know that in Albany, Georgia, 9 of our leaders have been indicted not by the Dixiecrats, but by the federal government for peaceful protest? But what did the federal government do when Albany Deputy Sheriff beat Attorney C.B. King and left him half dead? What did the federal government do when local police official kicked and assaulted the pregnant wife of Slater King and she lost her baby?
They let that stand in.
Okay, I actually have to find it. It was redacted that doggone bad. 4, 5, 6. Oh man. I honestly can't find it. Okay, sorry everybody. I can't find what that paragraph is. It may have been just that doggone bad. So, just to keep the party going here, the next 2 videos I'm gonna play back to back. There's a reason why I'm doing it, and I'm gonna bring it up simply because I want to make sure that I don't lose it. I want to make sure. Okay. Here we go. Here's the first one.
Do you know that in Albany, Georgia, 9 of our leaders have been indicted not by the Dixiecrats, but by the federal government for peaceful protest? But what did the federal government do when Albany Deputy Sheriff beat King and left him half dead? What did the federal government do when local police official kicked and assaulted the pregnant wife of Slater King and she lost her baby? Those who have said be patient and wait, we must say that we cannot be patient. We do not want our freedom gradually, but we want to be free now. We are tired. We are tired of being beaten by policemen. We're tired of seeing our people locked up in jail over and over again. And then you holler, be patient. How long can we be patient? We want our freedom and we want it now.
Okay, that's one. Back to back, here's the second video.
We do not want to go to jail, but we will go to jail if this is a price we must pay for love, brotherhood, and true peace.
Here's patiently trying to say this. Anna and Tracy, did you realize what the difference is between that first video I showed you and the second video I showed you? There were literally 2 paragraphs that was redacted in the speech. 2 whole paragraphs that they said he couldn't say. So here we go. We cannot depend on any political party, for both the Democrats and the Republicans have betrayed the basic principles of the Declaration of Independence. We all recognize the fact that if any radical social, political, and economic changes are to take place in our society, the people, the masses, must bring them about. In the struggle, we must seek more than civil rights. We must work for the community of love, peace, and true brotherhood. Our minds, soul, and hearts cannot rest until freedom and justice exist for all people.
And let the church say, Amen.
And the only thing I can say is the more things change,
The more they
the
say
more
the
they
same.
say the same. There is nothing what I just read that's any different than what's going on now. Nothing. And John Lewis is a great man. John Lewis is not Nostradamus. He didn't see the future and realized, no. And every time I hear somebody say, but y'all got it a little bit better than you used to be, and y'all still complaining. Yeah, I give you crumbs and tell you why are you still hungry. What do you complain about? The same equivalent. And like I said, again, that speech, the March on Washington in the 60s, we're in 2023. There is nothing changed.
Was this the 63 March?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
All we remember is the I Have a Dream speech.
And now you know what?
They twist that too. Let me show you.
I want to go see if there is an original Dr. Martin Luther King speech now. I want to know if there was an original Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. speech. I'm going to have to read Malcolm X autobiography again with the things I've learned since in my mind. I think it was 8. You know what?
Dang, Susan, that's
probably further than me, but yeah, I think you know what? That would be an interesting thing to do now.
A book club.
No, absolutely
What's
not.
wrong with a book club? That's a good idea.
Because I don't read books like that. No.
You can listen to it on audio.
I'm good. Nah, I'm good.
But it's a great autobiography to read.
It is. It is. I recommend it. But I want to, with all the things that I have learned since the last time I read that book, I want to reread it and see if anything changed how I feel about certain things. I doubt it. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that would change my mind, but I doubt it.
Especially when he talks about his father. I don't want to
you
get
might
all
just see more clearly, though.
Yeah. Yes.
That's why I see
I want to see if I see it more clearly or more understanding. Because I do remember that. I do remember reading it and was getting kind of confused because I have to admit, I was one of them people that just went, wow, it was really bad back then. So I can understand why without realizing that, wow, I'm still living through the same stuff.
Thing. Yeah, you're living through the exact same thing.
I'm living through the exact same. So maybe it would widen. You know, maybe I could get a bigger perspective on it, and maybe I could see more on the second read than the first one. Like, oh, okay, now I understand that. Oh, okay, now I could see where he was coming from when he said X, Y, Z. Yeah, I think the biggest part of me of the unredacted thing was how the initial speech was much more critical of the proposed Civil Rights Act. And Parker, I agree with you, but you know the one thing that I think I've taken away from this the redacted version of it is that he's not speaking very well about this administration.
Nope.
And he's literally, because that last thing that he said, because you got to remember, Democrats, Republicans, left, right, elephant, donkey, all of it together. We cannot depend on any political party, for both the Democrats and the Republicans have betrayed the basic principles of the Declaration of Independence.
How long did the Dixiecrats, how long were they around?
That's a Parker or Thea's question. I ain't that.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to say like 50 or 60 years. They was around for a bit.
And that's more, and I guarantee
then
you,
once
if Div was on
LBJ
here, he'd have told you like,
Yeah,
and they
he'd
was
told you.
around, and it was started by, and they did this, that, and the other. Because he throws some people, he throws some groups out there just like, who? They was right. Who was this? They tried to make John Lewis into a token and later a
venerable
statesman.
Vulnerable? No, that's not him.
Vulnerable?
Venerable.
A venerable
Susan, you gonna have to,
statesman.
put some explanation. I think I know what you're saying, but I don't quite get it.
A venerable statesman is an honored, time-tested.
You know me. If I don't know a word. Well, anyway, I'll look it up because I like learning new words in a way, or old words that I just can't read. Who knows? Last paragraph.
They're talking about slow down and stop. We will not stop. All of the forces of Eastland, Barnett, Wallace, and Thurman will not stop this revolution. If we do not get meaningful legislation out of this Congress, the time will come when we will not confine our marching to Washington. We will march through the South, through the streets of Jackson, through the streets of Danville, through the streets of Cambridge, through the streets of Birmingham. But we will march with the spirit of love and with the spirit of dignity that we have shown here today.
Oh, I know the reason why this was redacted. I know this. I know the reason why he redacted this one. So I'm just gonna get to the part where he said, "Well, if we do not get meaningful legislation out of Congress, the time will come when we will not confine our march to Washington. We will march through the South, through the streets of Jacksonville, through the streets of Danville, so on and so forth." The part that's redacted: we will march through the South, through the heart of Dixie, through the way Sherman did. We shall pursue our own scorched earth policy and burn Jim Crow to the ground nonviolently.
He said nonviolently. Why? I don't see why they made him redacted. Personally,
well, some people may take it seriously that they want to burn.
No, that's this super sensitive generation.
Neither Dixiecrats switched to Republican for the most part after the 60s.
Yeah, but when did they start, though? I think that's Anna's question. It's like, when did they start and when did they end?
Right.
No.
But thank you, Parker. That's half of it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Dixiecrats before. I just...
And now they're just WannaCrat.
Yeah, now they just here.
Hello, Green Wizard Zero.
Hello. How are you?
Great to have you.
All right. So there we are. So that was the last part of the unredacted John Lewis speech. Just speaking for myself, everybody will get a chance to speak for themselves. I want to now investigate what other speeches were redacted. I now have I have to now know now. I literally like to know. And I think my first investigation would be on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech. I want to know if there is a redacted, let's say that, and if so, I want the unredacted version of it. Also, I think what I'm going to also do is go and find the Malcolm X speech before the March on Washington. I think I want to go find it and listen to what he says to Farce on Washington.
No, that's what he called it in his autobiography.
I know he said it in the speech too.
I don't know if he said his speech. I don't even know if there's a recording of what he said to the Nation of Islam on that day.
Oh, I'm sure we can find it. Oh, I'm positive.
I wish there was because I've never seen it.
Oh,
All they do is play the "I Have a Dream" speech, and then they take that totally out of context.
Mhm.
oh yeah. But like I said,
Non-violently. He said non-violently. Like, what did they want him to say? We just happens to be here. Like,
first
come
of all,
on.
you said the heart of Dixie, which means, oh, you finna mess with the South. Burn down Jim Crow violently or non-violently, it's Jim Crow they talking
But
about.
what did they want them to say? This is where I don't get. Like, why was I get at the time? Like, I guess I'm looking back.
Oh, he was just saying he's feeling pretty good. I just want to make sure everybody get a chance to be. Oh God, I really got to see if I can find it, or at least the transcript of it. No way they're gonna let any black man talk about burning things down like Sherman.
But
There's a
Sherman
good
was
point.
their hero.
There's
Sherman was their
good
hero.
point,
The
Susan.
South shall rise again.
That is a good point, Susan.
I get what y'all saying, but I'm still like, I don't see if the administration, because it wasn't Kennedy that signed that bill, it was Johnson, right? Johnson signed the civil, or was it the Voters' Right Act that he signed? Because I know Lyndon Johnson signed the Voters' Rights Act. I know that one. But did Kennedy actually sign the Civil Rights Act? Because if you're gonna sign it,
I think Johnson signed it. I don't think Kennedy did.
yeah. Because I was like, well,
Right.
didn't Kennedy
I
get
think it
assassinated
started
like
with-
2 years later?
Yeah, I think Kennedy started it, but Johnson actually signed it.
Yeah. So if you knew you were gonna sign it, I'm not getting like why
Yeah,
redact their
that's what I thought.
speeches.
LBJ signed both.
I'm like, why are you doing that? They're right. I guess appearances matter more than I guess they do. Because I'm like, it's America. Say what you want to say.
The bottom line of the whole thing of the redacted everything was you wanted the black community back then to feel good about themselves,
And
to
I
understand
expect
that this administration is here to help you, even if they're not. But what you did not want to do is have any connection to a real uprising. Like, I'm actually shocked that the word revolution was put in the speech or was left in the speech. I'm actually shocked on that word.
But the fact, I guess, what tripped me up is they just sit there and they were like, okay, you can't say this, you can't say. I'd be like, I will say whatever I want to say now. But of course, I
you
wouldn't have been
never been
speaking.
able to talk.
Yeah.
Period. You would have never been able to talk.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the bottom line
And
too.
then they leave.
And they would, yeah. You'd have been in the group. You'd have been in the group in the back or in the audience out
In the
front.
audience, they knew where to put me. They would have known just where to put
LBJ
me.
signed them. They were signed in '64. JFK was killed in
In
'63. That's what I.
63.
I got to start talking out loud because I wanted to say, well, Kennedy couldn't do it because I think Kennedy was dead by the time it came. But I was like, ooh, but if I'm wrong, at least by a year or something. Ooh.
Yeah, because I always want to get everything right.
I do too.
Because
But
I'll
I'm
be like, didn't Kennedy die in 68? No, that was Dr. Martin Luther King died in 68.
That was his brother. Robert Kennedy.
RFK. Yeah, RFK was assassinated in 68.
63, a lot happened.
LBJ
Well,
was
63,
the
then King was assassinated, what, 64? Or was it 60 or 68? It was either 64 or 68.
68,
Just,
April 4th.
Yeah, that's right. I should remember that day. Or date. I don't remember that day because I was born 6 years after.
Don't forget, I was not just alive then, I was aware. Yeah, thank you. Because I wasn't around to 72.
Yeah, I wasn't around till 74, so. Of course, Parker wasn't around till 90 something, but hey, whatever.
and apparently knows more about this stuff.
Yeah, than we do. We're like, huh, what? Tell us more.
Tell us more, Parker.
I could look it up if I wasn't using my phone too.
I know. April 4th, 1968, Lorraine Motel, Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, now I knew that part.
Um, February 1965. Really?
Yeah,
It says here April 4th, 1968.
yeah. MLK, RFK, and Fred Hampton all were assassinated in '68.
Wow. But we have nothing to be fighting about. Okay.
We just happy to be here.
if you was in 68, hell, at that point you was happy to be here.
I'm talking about the way they say it now.
People
You don't
left and
have
right.
anything to complain about. Look, you can sit in the front of the bus and everything. You don't have to fear the police killing you. They're everybody's friends. Ugh.
Ooh, I got a video on that one too. Anyway, so
Is it the PR piece that CNN did for the police?
no, it was a guy that gave his reasoning. I guess it's a podcast, but he gave his reason why his certain. Well, you know what? We're ending early in a way, so I can just go ahead and play it. No, because if I play it, then we'll talk about it, and we talk about it, then we'll be rolling over. So we're early in a way. We're already early into this. Yep, MLK was 68. I was just saying Malcolm X died at 65, which was the only 2 years. Oh, okay. You talking about Malcolm X? Okay. King Arthur of Camelot, Kennedy wouldn't have signed the bill, not without a lot more watering down. He couldn't stay in line with the other political blue bloods.
Like LBJ wasn't no great revolutionary himself.
MLJ just knew how to keep the peace.
No, LBJ knew how to use that.
I mean, LBJ. LBJ knew how to keep the peace.
You didn't want to cross him. You know, you can say whatever you want about LBJ, but when that
Yeah.
man